Marcus Chen had never imagined that swinging a plasma cutter in the asteroid belt would prepare him for commanding a fleet of alien warships. But then again, he'd never imagined aliens existed until the hegemony arrived. The mining station prospectors. Dream had been his home for 3 years, a cramped metal can floating in the debris field of what had once been Mars's second moon. Marcus worked 16-hour shifts carving precious metals from space rocks, sending his earnings back to Earth to support his sister's medical bills. It was honest work, if brutally lonely. Everything changed the day the Corvani fleet emerged from hyperspace. The aliens were everything humanity had feared and more. 7 feet tall, chitinous, with mandibles that clicked when they spoke through their translators. Their ships were sleek predators compared to humanity's crude industrial vessels. Within hours, they had destroyed Earth's orbital defense platforms and issued their ultimatum: submit to the hegemony or face extinction. Most of humanity's leaders bent the knee immediately. Marcus watched the surrender broadcasts from his tiny quarters, rage building in his chest like molten metal. The Corvani had given humanity 1 week to choose representatives for the new colonial government. Earth's politicians were already lining up to serve their new masters. But Marcus Chen was just a miner. What could he do? The answer came when a damaged Corvani scout ship limped into the asteroid field, leaking atmosphere and clearly in distress. Standard protocol would have been to report it to Earth Command. Instead, Marcus suited up and grabbed his cutting torch. The Corvani inside was barely alive, its purple blood pooling on the deck plating. It looked up at Marcus with compound eyes that held a mixture of pain and surprise. In broken English, it gasped, "You help enemy?" "I help people who are dying," Marcus replied, applying emergency sealant to the creature's wounds. That's what humans do. The alien, who called himself Thex, recovered over the next 3 days. During that time, Marcus learned that the Corvani hegemony wasn't as unified as they appeared. Thex belonged to a resistance faction that opposed the expansionist policies of the ruling caste. They had been fighting a losing battle for decades, watching as their people became nothing more than tools for conquest. "Your species," Thex clicked thoughtfully, "shows something we have forgotten. Compassion for enemies. It is unusual." When Thex's ship was repaired, he didn't leave alone. Marcus had made a decision that would change everything. The Resistance base was hidden in a nebula 3 systems away, a collection of patched-together ships and desperate aliens from a dozen conquered species. Their leader, a massive Corvani named Vex Prime, initially wanted to space Marcus on sight. "This human will betray us," Vex Prime declared. "His species has already surrendered." "My species is scared," Marcus shot back, standing his ground despite being a quarter of the alien's size. "But that doesn't mean we've given up. You want to know what humans are capable of? Give me a chance to show you." The test came sooner than expected. A hegemony patrol squadron had tracked them to the nebula and was closing fast. The Resistance fleet was outnumbered 3-1, their ships worn down from years of fighting. Conventional tactics would end in massacre. Marcus studied the tactical display and saw something the aliens had missed. The nebula wasn't just cover. It was a weapon. "The gas clouds," he explained to the bewildered alien commanders. "They're rich in hydrogen, if we can ignite them at the right moment." The plan was insane. It required precise timing, perfect coordination, and a willingness to risk everything on the word of a human nobody. But Marcus had learned something in the asteroid fields that these warriors had never considered. Sometimes the best strategy wasn't to fight the environment, but to make it fight for you. When the hegemony ships entered the nebula, they found the resistance fleet apparently in full retreat. The Corvani commanders pressed their advantage, pushing deeper into the gas clouds in pursuit of easy prey. They never saw Marcus coming. The mining ship prospector's dream had been stripped down and packed with explosives. Marcus piloted it personally, through the densest part of the nebula, weaving between the enemy vessels like a man who had spent years navigating asteroid fields. At the perfect moment, he detonated his ship. The chain reaction was beautiful and terrible. Hydrogen clouds ignited in a cascade of fire that swept through the enemy formation, disabling their shields and sending them spinning helplessly through space. The resistance fleet, safely positioned outside the blast zone, picked them off one by one. When the smoke cleared, Marcus was floating in an escape pod, grinning despite the fact that he'd just destroyed his home and livelihood. Thex's ship pulled him aboard to find the bridge crew staring at him in something approaching awe. "How did you know it would work?" Vex Prime demanded. "Because I'm a miner," Marcus said simply. "I know how things break." Word of the victory spread through the galaxy like wildfire. The unstoppable hegemony had been defeated by a ragtag resistance led by a human. More importantly, they'd been defeated by human thinking, the kind of creative, adaptive problem-solving that came from generations of surviving in hostile environments. Within months, Marcus found himself commanding a fleet of liberation ships, each one crewed by former slaves and conquered peoples who had heard about the human who turned space gas into a weapon. They called him the Forge Commander, the one who could find victory in any situation. The war lasted 3 more years. Marcus never stopped thinking like a miner, seeing opportunity where others saw obstacles, finding the weak points that others missed. He turned asteroid fields into fortresses, redirected comets into siege weapons, and convinced entire star systems to rise up against their oppressors. When the final hegemony stronghold fell, Vex Prime offered Marcus anything he wanted. Command of the new Galactic Council, wealth beyond imagination, a monument to his achievements. Marcus Chen, the miner who had become a warlord, smiled and shook his head. "I just want to go home," he said. "Earth has a lot of rebuilding to do." But as his ship headed toward the small, blue world where it all began, Marcus knew the galaxy would never forget what humanity was capable of. They had learned that sometimes the most dangerous opponent wasn't the one with the biggest guns. It was the one who refused to fight fair. After all, humans had been turning hostile environments into homes for millennia. Space was just another frontier to conquer.